A hiss of static ripped through the room. The apartment's power surged, then failed. Only the TV came to life, humming with cold menace. Elijah Mercer stood still, heart pounding in the sudden darkness. Then it spoke. "They're already here." The voice was low, alien, unnaturally clear. Not through the speakers, inside his mind. Every device in the building buzzed to life. Phones, radios, laptops, all hijacked by the same fractured signal. Pulsing glyphs, glitched tones, unearthly symbols. Panic bloomed across the city outside. Explosions flashed beyond the skyline. Sirens wailed. Streetlights blinked out one by one. Elijah didn't move. His face was pale, sweat breaking along his brow. That voice wasn't just speaking to Earth, it was speaking to him. "We've been waiting for you," it said again. His knees nearly buckled. He reached for the necklace hanging from his neck, his wife's dog tags, and whispered, "Claire, what did you know?" The world was ending, but for Elijah, it had just begun. The signal cut out. Silence returned, but it wasn't peace, it was pressure. Elijah moved like a man hypnotized, feet dragging as he opened a locked drawer. Inside, sealed in plastic, was an envelope labeled in neat handwriting. "If I'm gone, trust this. Claire, ... He hadn't touched it in years. Hands shaking, he tore it open. Inside was a photo, her in a gray government complex he'd never seen before, and a strange brass key marked with unfamiliar symbols. Elijah dropped into a chair, staring at the evidence like it might vanish. She knew. She had always known. But about what? His eyes drifted to the TV, now dead again. The room seemed smaller, heavier, pressing in. The key was cold in his palm. Outside, the wail of a low-flying chopper swept past. He whispered, "You tried to warn me." Then he stood. He had questions. And the answers were buried deeper than he ever imagined. The old laptop booted with a strained hum. No network. No Wi-Fi. But a file pulsed on the desktop. Project Motherglass. Not his. Never seen it before. Elijah clicked. A video opened. Claire sat before a gray wall, dark circles under her eyes, voice low and urgent. "If you're seeing this, Ellie, it means the signal's been triggered. You were always part of this, even if you didn't know it. They'll come for you. You have to run. You can't trust anyone, especially them. Especially them." She paused, eyes welling up. "I'm sorry I lied. I did it to keep you alive." Then static swallowed the feed. Elijah stared at the screen long after it went black. His throat tightened. Claire hadn't just known. She was in it. She'd tried to shield him. He whispered, "You were never a victim." Then he opened the drawer and pulled out a pistol. Elijah moved through a city unraveling. Drones buzzed overhead. People ran blindly through smoke-choked streets. He knew where he had to go. The underground transit station near the decommissioned power grid. No one ever used it. It was erased from official maps. He reached the terminal, breath ragged, pulled open a rusted panel, and inserted the key. It clicked. A hidden door opened. Cold air spilled out. Fluorescent lights buzzed on. Then off, then on again. The elevator was ancient, groaning as it dropped. As it descended, strange glyphs began glowing on the metal walls. Elijah stood still, gripping the pistol at his side. The deeper it went, the more familiar it felt. He wasn't discovering something new. He was remembering something lost. The elevator opened into silence. Not the absence of sound, but the presence of something watching. The corridor stretched forward, smooth alloy walls etched with glowing glyphs, floor pulsing faintly under his boots. It was alien, and not. The architecture merged military form with organic design. He followed the path toward a chamber that shimmered with energy. A terminal pulsed at its center, surrounded by monolithic spires. He stepped forward. Then a voice echoed, not through speakers but in his own mind, "Welcome home, Commander Mercer." He stopped. That name. He hadn't heard it in years. Not since a mission scrubbed from existence. He turned slowly, scanning the chamber. And suddenly, it was clear. This place wasn't new. It was built for him. Elijah stepped into the command chamber. The room didn't welcome him, it recognized him. Lights along the walls flared to life, cascading down the corridor like a breath held too long. The console at the center lit up with symbols from the broadcast, now clearly readable. Alien? No. Hybrid. And human-coded. He placed his hand near the terminal, and it responded, warm, pulsing. A voice echoed again, Mother Glass active, awaiting command. Elijah staggered back. Mother Glass. That name, it wasn't fiction. It had been a whispered myth in his Black Ops days, a rumored AI developed in conjunction with something not human. His wife hadn't lied. She had tried to protect him from this. A file opened automatically on the console. Project Origin. A digital image of Claire flashed, then vanished. Elijah clenched his fists. This wasn't just a relic. It was a trap. Or a weapon. Maybe both. What were you building down here? He muttered. And why was he the key? A projection appeared before him, Claire, but not real. A digital echo composed of fragmented data. You've accessed the Mother Glass, she said, voice monotone, but tinged with the ghost of emotion. If this system has activated, Earth is compromised. You must listen carefully. She paused, then, they are already inside. The hologram stuttered, pixelated briefly. The government has partnered with the invaders, not all, just factions, secret divisions. It was always about control, not contact. Elijah's jaw tightened. His wife had built this message as a failsafe. She knew she wouldn't survive. This place, it's not a sanctuary, Claire continued. It's a fail-safe network designed to rewrite the Earth grid. Elijah took a step back. This wasn't about war. It was about resetting civilization. The projection flickered again. You were never just a soldier, Elijah. You were the final key. He didn't breathe. He couldn't. The truth was worse than the invasion. Outside, the city collapsed further. Power grids failed. Fires consumed entire blocks. The sky churned with unnatural clouds. But underground, Elijah saw something stranger. Through a transparent wall, a chamber filled with cryopods. Rows of people. Soldiers. Scientists. Civilians. Preserved. Claire's voice echoed through the chamber again. This was the insurance policy. If Earth fell, they would rebuild it from what remained here. Elijah moved slowly between the pods, his breath fogging the glass. Each face was frozen in time. Some he recognized, former colleagues, names long marked Mia Dactal. Others he didn't. A final pod sat at the far end, unlit. A screen beside it displayed one word. Activating. Elijah leaned closer. The pod hissed. Internal mechanisms engaged. He backed away as frost cracked. The chamber pulsed once. The voice returned, not Claire's. Awakening phase 1. Elijah raised his weapon. He wasn't alone anymore. The pod opened with a wet hiss, steam rolling out. A figure stumbled forward, female, mid-30s, tactical gear, eyes fogged. Elijah pointed the weapon. Don't move. She blinked, confused, breathing heavily. You're Mercer. Her voice cracked. You were declared compromised. He didn't lower the weapon. Who activated you? She steadied herself. Protocol Omega. I'm Lieutenant Aria Vale. I was part of the fallback contingency. We weren't supposed to wake unless the failsafe was breached. Elijah slowly lowered his sidearm. It's breached, he said coldly. Everything's burned. Aria looked at the console, then at him. Then there's no more hiding. They'll come for this place now. You triggered Mother Glass. Elijah nodded. I think it was waiting for me. Arya stared at him like he was something more than human. Maybe he was. Then you better start remembering why, she said. Outside, the facility trembled, like it had just been found. They moved fast. Arya led Elijah deeper into the facility, passing sealed doors and long-forgotten corridors. The deeper they went, the more the walls changed, organic in places, pulsing, alive. This entire complex wasn't built by us, she said. Only modified. Elijah didn't speak. The symbols on the walls glowed brighter as he passed. It responds to you, she said. You were genetically tagged for command clearance. But not just command. Integration. Elijah froze. What does that mean? Arya didn't answer. They reached a circular chamber at the core. A central pillar of light stretched from floor to ceiling, humming with unreadable code. Arya placed her hand on a console. We don't have much time. They've located us. Elijah stepped into the light. It didn't hurt. It welcomed him. And as the glyphs rose around him, he remembered fragments, voices, experiments, pain. The truth wasn't just inside him. It had been engineered into him. The light faded. Elijah stumbled backward, breathless, disoriented. The memories weren't complete, just flashes. He remembered standing in a white chamber, surrounded by men in uniforms, not of Earth. A symbol burned into his forearm. He remembered pain, and a voice saying, "He'll never remember unless we want him to." Arya helped steady him. You saw something, she said. Elijah nodded, jaw tight. Not everything, but enough. They were running out of time. Alarms began to wail across the facility. Someone had breached the outer perimeter. Arya raced to a nearby wall panel. Surveillance footage showed black armored soldiers moving with inhuman precision. They're not fully human, she muttered. Hydra division. Sleeper assets. Government bred. Alien enhanced. Elijah watched them move, surgical and silent. He recognized their formation. He trained them. Betrayal twisted his gut. They're coming to silence us, he said coldly. They think I'm still one of them. Arya handed him a rifle. Then prove you're not. Elijah and Arya moved through the lower tunnels, lit only by the pulsing glow of wall glyphs. The further they went, the stranger the architecture became. Walls that breathed, corridors that shifted slightly when unobserved. This place was alive before we got here, Arya whispered. Elijah nodded, barely listening. The air trembled, footsteps above. Hydra was descending fast. At a fork, Arya hesitated. There's a maintenance shaft we can collapse. Buy us time. Elijah stepped forward. They'll expect that. He moved toward a central chamber. We make them follow. Trap them where it's strongest. Arya looked confused. Strongest? Elijah pointed to the floor glyphs pulsing beneath his boots. This system was never just defense. It's reactive. She realized what he meant. You're going to use it. He nodded. I don't know how, but it does. Then he stepped into the next room, alone. The chamber responded to his presence immediately. The doors sealed shut. Lights dimmed. A holographic array ignited above, a battlefield simulation. Earth. Orbit. Alien vessels. Human installations. Conflict in progress. Or prophecy. Elijah's pulse raced. Mother Glass, he said aloud. Show me all classified directives. The system complied. Files unfolded like ghostly leaves. Project origin, operation, resonant vow, sleeper vaults, Earth Genesis. Then one more, Directive 13. Assimilation override. A video file opened. General Rourke, his old co, appeared. If the Alien Alliance fails, merge tech into command subjects, retake control. Humanity must evolve. Elijah reeled. He wasn't the failsafes. He was the experiment. Everything had been designed to break him, and rebuild him as something else. The system pulsed again, asking, Execute assimilation override? Elijah stared at the prompt. His hand hovered above the panel. Not yet, he whispered. First we fight. Gunfire echoed from the corridors above. Arya's voice crackled through comms. They're breaching containment. 2 minutes tops. Elijah exited the chamber, eyes burning with focus. Then we end it here. He rerouted power to the central spine of the facility, the core reactor that fed the alien systems. They want the tech. They can have it, on our terms. He reached a control ring and activated a sequence labeled Ion Vein. Arya's voice rose in alarm. That system's unstable? So are they, Elijah answered. Lights shifted. Floors opened. Plasma conduits surged to life. The trap was set. Hira entered. Masked, silent, eyes glowing faintly. The lead agent raised a hand. Commander Mercer, stand down. Elijah didn't move. You programmed me to obey. That was your first mistake. Then he fired. The facility erupted in violence. Lightning arcs tore through steel. Arya joined him. It was time to make a point. Humanity wasn't going quietly. Bodies smoked on the floor. Circuits shorted. The battle was brief, but brutal. Elijah leaned against a wall, panting, bleeding from his temple. Arya stood over a fallen Hira operative, faceplate cracked, revealing something no longer fully human beneath. God, she whispered. What did they turn them into? Elijah stared, silent. They weren't soldiers anymore. They were vessels. Biotech hybrids. Disposable. He reached down, retrieved a memory module from one of their belts, plugged it into the terminal. Mother Glass processed it instantly. A new data feed opened. Coordinates. A base hidden in low orbit, one of Earth's own. Elijah's face hardened. They're not just working with aliens, they're building an empire on our ashes. Arya stepped forward. Then we take it down. Elijah nodded. No more hiding. We take the war to them. The Mother Glass pulsed. Its systems were ready. So were they. Orbit. Silent. Frozen. Until the shuttle breached the black. Elijah and Arya piloted the stolen dropship through Earth's upper atmosphere, riding the stolen Hira coordinates to their source. Before them, suspended in the void like a secret, loomed a structure unlike any station Elijah had ever seen. A black obelisk tethered to nothing. No nation's flag, no transmissions, utterly invisible to civilian satellites. It's not just a base, Arya muttered. It's a crucible. Elijah narrowed his eyes. This is where they make them. Inside, Elijah knew they weren't just enhancing humans. They were erasing them. Replacing memory. Rebuilding will. Arya steered the ship into a blind docking vector, tapping into residual Hira code. As they docked, silence met them. No alarms. No resistance. Only darkness, waiting. They think we're one of them, Elijah said grimly. Let's make them regret that. Weapons armed. Masks on. They entered. The interior was colder than space. A narrow corridor stretched before them, walls pulsing with slow white light. No guards. No sound. Just perfect, engineered stillness. Arya scanned the air. Pressure's artificial. Oxygen's clean. This place isn't abandoned, it's preparing. They passed lab windows showing silhouettes of surgical tables and containment pods. Elijah didn't flinch, but his hands clenched tighter on his weapon. Then he stopped. One room was different. Inside, his face. A clone? No, a projection. Data overlay hovered beside it. Neural structure scans. Emotional decay indexes. They were tracking your breakdown, Arya whispered, predicting every reaction. Elijah stared at it in silence. They weren't training soldiers, they were writing scripts. He stepped away, breath shallow. Every betrayal, Every loss, it was by design. Arya lowered her eyes. Then we flipped the script. Ahead, a reinforced vault door opened on its own. The vault led into the control center. Circular, vast, dotty. At its center, suspended mid-air, was a living core. Not a reactor. A brain. Part organic, part synthetic. Pulsing with slow amber light. Elijah stepped forward. "This is their seed system," Arya said quietly. "It syncs every sleeper agent, it decides who stays human." Elijah stared at the neural lattice. "And who becomes something else?" The interface awoke, screens blinking with access protocols. Recognition surged. "Commander Mercer, primary, override verified." Elijah hesitated. "If I touch that, there's no coming back." Arya didn't move. "Then don't touch it, destroy it." But Elijah saw more. Beneath the code, his wife's encrypted signature. She had been here. She had programmed something inside it. A choice. His finger hovered. "Claire, what did you do?" A voice, faint and artificial, emerged from the system. "Commander, termination will collapse EarthNet protocols." Elijah turned to Arya. "If I kill this, we all go dark." Sirens blared, finally. Hyra Command knew they were here. Panels slammed shut across the station, red lights pulsing through the corridors. Elijah snapped into motion. They'll breach from 3 angles. We hold this chamber. We end this now." Arya tossed him a shock disc. "Go for the neural stem. It'll force shut down." As the first wave hit, they fought like ghosts, silent, surgical, lethal. Elijah moved with purpose, each strike guided by training he didn't remember learning. Arya's sidearm echoed in tandem with his rifle. Bodies dropped. Sparks rained. The brain core glowed brighter, destabilizing. Elijah reached the terminal. He hesitated only once, then stabbed the override spike into the system. A soundless blast of light erupted from the core, knocking them to the floor. The lights went dead. The system died screaming, in digital tones. Then silence. Not just in the room. In the entire station. Hyra was blind. After the light faded, Elijah stood in the ruins of what was once the heart of the enemy's machine. The base was dead, but not silent. Faint tremors rippled through the structure. "We destabilized orbit," Arya said, voice strained. "They linked it to the EarthNet. Now it's falling." Alarms rang out, automated voices announcing orbital drift and system breach. Elijah nodded. "We'll ride it down." Arya blinked. "That's a suicide drop." Elijah opened a service panel, revealing an emergency pod bay. Wow. "Not if we eject mid-descent. And not if we tag the wreckage with every file they tried to bury." He handed her a drive. "This truth isn't staying in orbit." As they launched the pod, the station began to shear apart, Earth's gravity pulling it home. From the window, Elijah watched the black sky crack into blue. "Let them see what they built," he whispered. And below, the world braced for fire. The pod screamed through the atmosphere, fire trailing in its wake. Inside, Elijah and Arya braced, strapped in tight, as the Earth roared up to meet them. Systems blinked red. Hull integrity. Critical. "We're coming in too hot," Arya shouted. Elijah didn't flinch. Better than missing. Trees blurred past, then impact. Metal screeched, soil ripped, and silence slammed down like a final curtain. Smoke rose from the wreckage. They were alive. Just like. Elijah dragged himself from the pod, lungs burning. Forest all around. Somewhere remote. Safe for now. Arya followed, limping, clutching the data drive like it was sacred. "We have to broadcast it," she rasped. Elijah nodded, eyes scanning the tree line. "We don't just expose them, we ignite something they can't stop." The fire in his chest was no longer fear, it was purpose. "Let the world see what it forgot," he said. And for the first time, he didn't feel alone. They moved through dense forest on foot, staying off-grid. Elijah knew the territory: deep state relay stations, old broadcast sites, relics from a time before civilian networks ruled. They reached one by nightfall, an overgrown tower, half collapsed, but still humming faintly with forgotten power. "Will it work?" Arya asked. Elijah stepped into the rusted bunker beneath it, eyes scanning the dusty control panel. "It has to." He inserted the drive. The screen sparked, came alive. Lines of code raced. Then, a feed. Project Motherglass, Hyra conversions, human experiments, EarthNet manipulation. Everything they'd tried to bury. "We leak this to every dead satellite still listening," Elijah said. "They'll pick it up. Governments, rebels, civilians. No one ignores this." Arya watched the uplink initiate. "You sure you want to be the face of it?" Elijah met her eyes. "They tried to rewrite me. Now I write the truth." The broadcast surged through forgotten frequencies, leaping from dead satellites to pirate networks to blacklisted data nodes. Across the globe, screens flickered, first in bunkers, then bedrooms, then city streets. The images were undeniable. Alien technology woven into military labs. Sleeper agents waking in hospitals. Implant schematics hidden in food supply chains. Names. Faces. Betrayals. Elijah's voice rang out with quiet authority. "This is not fiction. This is not foreign. This is what they've been doing in our name. This is what they've done to us." Arya stood beside him as the old system hummed, burning itself out with every bite it gave to the world. "We just turned the world on its head," she whispered. Elijah nodded. "Good. Maybe now people will stop looking up and start looking around." And for the first time in decades, the world began to see. The world didn't erupt overnight, but it cracked. Panic in governments. Protests in cities. Rogue factions within military branches defected. Hyra bases were abandoned or bombed by loyalist splinters. But retaliation came swiftly. Elijah and Arya watched from a ridge as black VTOLs incinerated the old bunker hours later. "They'll erase everything we touch," Arya said. "But not what people have already seen," Elijah replied. "This isn't about us anymore." Still, he knew it was far from over. Hyra hadn't lost. They'd just been exposed. And exposure changes tactics, not agendas. Elijah looked down at a wristband blinking softly. Encrypted signal from an ally he hadn't spoken to in years. "They're calling in ghosts now," he muttered. Arya raised an eyebrow. "Yours or theirs?" Elijah smiled grimly. "Both." They walked into the woods, the line between hunter and hunted already beginning to blur. That night, around a small fire deep in the woods, Elijah finally let himself breathe. Arya sat across from him, the data drive now inert, its mission complete. "What now?" she asked. Elijah stared into the flames. "Now we vanish, we become the rumor." She raised an eyebrow. "Freedom fighters?" He shook his head. "No. Something older. Watchers, disruptors. They're not done. So neither are we." Above them, satellites shifted. Stars moved that shouldn't move. Signals bounced where they shouldn't bounce. Something was still watching. Elijah felt it deep in his spine. "This wasn't just about Earth," he said quietly. "This was a test for something bigger." Arya nodded slowly. "You think there's more out there?" He met her eyes. "I know there is. And now they know we're coming." The flames crackled. And in the quiet beyond, the night listened. Dust churned beneath the tires as Elijah and Arya approached the edge of the northern plateau. Coordinates buried in the last sector of Claire's decrypted data. A forgotten site, listed in no database. They stopped before a jagged ridge, where heat shimmered unnaturally above the ground. No drones. No comms interference. Just a dead zone, Arya said, stepping out. Elijah crouched, brushing ash away from a metallic crest embedded in stone. An ancient insignia, not military, not alien. Human. Full. Future human. She left this for us, he muttered. A panel unlocked at his touch, revealing a staircase spiraling downward. Whatevs here, he added. They buried it deep enough to be forgotten. They descended slowly, the entrance sealing shut behind them. The rock seemed to hum, a low, resonant frequency like memory trying to speak. Arya whispered, "Why does it feel like this place is listening?" Elijah didn't answer. He felt it too. The stairwell gave way to a corridor of obsidian and steel, walls etched with spiraling symbols that moved when not directly observed. Their steps echoed unnaturally, as if reality lagged behind. Ahead, a chamber flickered into existence. Floating at its center was a sphere of radiant black glass, orbiting 3 smaller satellites of light and shadow. Elijah approached cautiously. "It's another node," Arya said. "Older than Mother Glass, possibly the first." The moment he got close, the satellites aligned, and the room shifted. Images burst across the walls. Earth's collapse in thousands of alternate timelines. Worlds consumed by over-integration. Civilizations erased by the very tools meant to protect them. Elijah's hands trembled. They didn't just warn us, they failed before. Over and over. Arya stepped forward. "So why leave this?" The node pulsed in response, forming a single phrase across its surface. "You are the last iteration." The node flared, and time fractured. Elijah stood in a mirrored version of the chamber, alone. Except it wasn't empty. For him stood Claire, not real, not alive, but not a recording either. "This is a fail-safe consciousness," she said, echoing his thoughts. "I embedded myself into the source node. If you're here, it means we failed again." Her eyes held sorrow deeper than any AI should contain. "This isn't just Earth's problem. It's multiversal recursion. Every time we try to fix the system, we create a worse one." Elijah's voice cracked. "What am I?" Claire stepped closer. "You are the anchor, the variant who resists the code. You're the one who remembers. And if you let this node complete its function, the pattern ends." The choice was clear. Shut the cycle down, or continue the loop. Elijah looked at her, then at the node. "I remember now," he whispered. "Everything." Elijah stepped back from Claire's echo, chest tight. The chamber dimmed as the node began its final process. A wave of cascading shutdown sequences rippled through its structure. Arya appeared beside him, panting. "The outer walls. Something's waking up." She was right. The facility trembled, lights flickering red. Outside the vault, black armored sentinels emerged from hidden alcoves. Automated, hybrid constructs left by the last failed iteration. "It's guarding the cycle," Arya realized. "It's not going to let you end it." Elijah didn't hesitate. "Then we distract it." He stepped into the center of the node's field as Arya opened fire at the approaching sentinels. The node glowed brighter, sensing to his biometrics. Elijah's veins lit with golden light, his body suspended in the field. Claire's voice echoed one last time. "Remember who you were before they told you." And then, pure stillness. The moment before everything rewrote itself. Light exploded outward from the node, silent, all-consuming. Then, black. And then, breath. When Elijah awoke in a world both familiar and foreign. Same air, same sun, but quieter. Above, no satellites. Around him, no tech signals. Arya lay nearby, stirring. "Did we?" she began. Elijah helped her up. "We reset it. No EarthNet, no Hyra, no system." They were in a parallel Earth, untouched, empty of intrusion. The failsafe hadn't destroyed reality. It had chosen another thread. A new start. Claire's voice returned in the wind. "It's yours now. Make it count." Elijah looked to the horizon. Lush, alive, unclaimed. Arya stepped beside him. "So what now?" He smiled faintly. "Now we teach the future to remember." And as they walked forward, the sky shimmered with possibilities, not because they were saved, but because they saved themselves. Weeks passed. The silence of this new Earth became its own kind of message. Elijah and Arya made camp in a high valley, surviving off the land, mapping terrain untouched by history. Yet strange patterns emerged, perfect geometric growth in the forests, constellations that subtly shifted positions, and the occasional flicker of déjà vu that neither could explain. "We didn't just land in a new world," Arya said one night, watching a tree bloom overnight in impossible symmetry. "This world was generated." Elijah nodded, tracing symbols he found etched on a river rock, glyphs identical to those in the node. "We weren't dropped here, we were placed." That night, the stars pulsed in sync across the sky. A pulse that wasn't natural. Arya stared upward. "Someone's watching the experiment." Elijah's jaw clenched. "Then, let's show them what happens when the variables fight back." At the forest's edge, Elijah discovered a ruined obelisk, half buried, humming faintly, inscribed with a mixture of human and alien code. Arya scanned it. "It's not from here. It's a remnant from another failed cycle. Somehow, it bled into this one." The obelisk flickered, projecting a broken hologram. Claire again, but distorted. "They're still trying to overwrite," she warned. "Not Hyra, not the system, the architects." Elijah frowned. "The ones behind the code?" Claire nodded faintly. "They don't govern by domination, they curate outcomes." Then, static. Arya stepped back. "If they planted this here, they're not just watching, they're testing compliance." Elijah placed his hand on the obelisk. "Then, we fail the test." A hidden chamber opened beneath them. A staircase descending into artificial night. "It goes deeper," Arya said. Elijah stared down. "Good. So do we." The stairway led to a subterranean vault carved with a precision no tool could replicate. Inside, stasis tanks. Dozens of them. Occupied. "They brought others here," Arya said, her voice hollow. "Other versions. Failed ones. Each pod held someone who looked like them. Elijah's and Arya's from alternate threads, some deformed, some corrupted by tech implants, others visibly dead. One pod cracked slowly open. A version of Elijah stepped out. Eyes dim, voice monotone. Assimilation attempt #44. Subject failed to reject protocol override. Elijah approached. "You're me?" The variant nodded. "I was, until I stopped asking questions." Then he collapsed, lifeless. Arya whispered, "They're not just testing resistance, they're testing surrender." Elijah looked at the vault's control panel. A prompt blinked. "Integrate or isolate." He placed a hand on it. "Neither. We break the loop." Elijah rewired the control panel, redirecting its system logic. "If they're using us as recursion nodes, we rewrite the pattern at the root." As the tanks hissed and deactivated one by one, the chamber trembled. A deeper layer activated, exposing a long hallway of mirrors. But they weren't reflections. They were possibilities. Versions of Elijah and Arya who made different choices, some noble, some monstrous. Arya stared into hers. A warlord leading a resistance. Another leading Hyra itself. Elijah stood before a mirror, showing him walking away from everything alone. "They've mapped every choice," Arya said. "But this isn't prediction," Elijah murmured. "It's containment." He smashed the mirror. Then, another. "I'm not a reflection." Arya joined him. Glass shattered. Lights failed. Somewhere beyond the walls, something stirred, as if the system was waking up to stop them. "We're in unrendered space now," Elijah said. "Off script." Beyond the mirrors, the final chamber waited. No lights. No architecture. Just void. And within it, a massive consciousness. Formless, yet observing. Elijah and Arya stepped in. "We see you," 1,000 voices said in unison. "You are the anomaly, the error, the echo refusing silence." Elijah stepped forward. No, I'm the origin, not of the problem, of the choice. The void pulsed. We offered harmony. You persist with chaos. Arya joined him. Because chaos is choice. And you've been afraid of it since the beginning. For the first time, the void hesitated. Elijah placed the final node, taken from the obelisk, into the dark. Light rippled out. No more control, he said. No more loops. Let every path exist. Let every voice speak. The void collapsed inward. Not with rage. With surrender. And in its absence the code unbound. They weren't players anymore. They were authors. The world began writing itself anew.